now, right now. Right 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 now, right now. Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeff here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekly morning show where we bring you the latest and everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about what a beautiful crash. Oh, you love to see it. Oh, you just love to see it. You love to see Bitcoin crash. I know I sound probably a little bit tone deaf because some people have probably gotten wrecked recently. And I'm very sorry if you have. Bitcoin bottomed all the way down to $80,000 recently. And this is something that after we got some information about a week and a half ago, we started to expect. Our original bottom was right here at 94. Bitcoin dropped exactly to 94. We've been calling for 94 since Bitcoin was trading at 116,000. A couple days after the 10-10 crash, we talked about how something fundamentally broke and Bitcoin's going to need to revisit the bull market support uptrend. And from that point in time, we dropped down to 94,000. We had virtually no bounce, and we've kept dropping from there. And yesterday, we ended up doing the exact same thing that we did at 94, which is we did an overside, underside test. You can see the overside test and then the underside test, and then Bitcoin fell over, right? That's at 94,000, this line right here. Then over the last few days, we had an overside, underside test. Now, the question becomes, can Bitcoin, after it has found, down here on the 5-minute chart, support at this 0.618 Fibonacci, can Bitcoin actually break above 85.5? Because if Bitcoin can break above 85.5, that's where we can start talking about a rebound, and that might be building right now, which is encouraging. Actually, from the way I'm looking at it, it's discouraging. I want Bitcoin to crash and crash and crash. I want to buy as much Bitcoin as I can get my grubby little hands on. So I am looking forward to Bitcoin going as low as I can. But what I am expecting at this point is that Bitcoin is going to attempt, because of this symmetrical triangle pattern down here on the 5-minute chart, to try and come up here and test above 85,000. If we manage to get above 85,000, it's possible that Bitcoin could build a big old inverse head and shoulders pattern right here. That's the technical term, big ol', right? We could have a big ol' inverse head and shoulders pattern form right here, shoulder line here, price target with the shoulder line at 88, bottom at 8. That could push us up back here above 95, and you can start building bullish architecture that sends us back up towards the 50 weekly moving average out here on the longer term time frames. What we saw happen in the last bull market is going to be very illuminating here. And the last bear market. And that is that once Bitcoin broke through the 50 weekly moving average, it plunged for a few weeks, bounced back up, back tested the 50, and then when it rejected off of that, that's when we knew that we were in a bear market for sure. And something very similar is probably going to take place over the next few months. Bitcoin is probably going to try and find some kind of temporary bottom. We've been talking about how it's probably going to find some kind of temporary bottom, probably between 75 and 85 has been where I've been expecting it. For a multitude of reasons, but at some point Bitcoin's going to come up here and it's going to try and meet this now descending 50 weekly moving average, and it's going to come up here and test it. And that test is probably going to be somewhere between $94,000 and $100,000. Funny how that zone keeps popping up, right? We're most likely going to end up testing the 50 right in here. Sometime before the end of January, Bitcoin is most likely going to rally up here and test this. If Bitcoin is able to break through here, then on goes the bull market. You just got a generational buying opportunity, maybe one of the last before we break off above $100,000 forever. However, on the other hand, if Bitcoin does what is frankly technically more likely, which is reject off of the 50, that's where you'll likely see a second wave of the bear market about as deep as the first, which would be extrapolated from the break at the 50, and then that would point us down towards $50,000 to $55,000, which is kind of our bear market bottom price target. Pretty much everybody in the industry, this is interesting, pretty much everybody in the industry is basically on board with this, which leads me to believe that it's all wrong and none of it's going to happen. It's very difficult to tell what Bitcoin's going to do. if you've noticed, we haven't really made a prediction other than Bitcoin was going to drop down to between 53 or between 57 and like $85,000. Like, that's a really broad range. And I've had people say, Jeff, that's a really broad range. That is a really broad range. I'm not comfortable making a more specific prediction than that because we don't have information to do that with yet. All we can do is some short-term trend analysis, and that's about it. The main thing that is going to drive Bitcoin over the next year is not going to be necessarily repeating this market. The main thing that's going to drive Bitcoin over the next year is going to be what Bitcoin does in response to the fundamentals. So that's what I want to talk about today because I don't have a lot of time. Apologies for the streams and the videos and the timing and everything being all over the place. We are fighting tooth and nail with doctors to get my wife the medication that she needs so that she doesn't have to deal with this anymore. She'll stand up, her heart rate goes to 160, 170. Very much not conducive to living a normal life. So I've been all over the place trying to get her fixed up with that. But I am trying to bring you content even if it's not at the right time. So that's kind of what's been going on behind the scenes. But I want to talk about today with the limited time that I have, because we have another appointment here in an hour. With the limited time that I have, I want to talk about why I think that Bitcoin is actually going to have a very bullish, at least H2, half two of next year. I do think that the second half of next year is probably going to be bullish. I think that more likely than not, again, unless some kind of major institutional player just completely explodes, the bear market probably won't take until October to bottom out. It'll probably move faster. It'll probably move faster than that. It might not. I mean, we ended up hitting the bull market top basically exactly on cue. Again, unless everybody's wrong and we end up going higher. But the thing we need to keep in mind is the QT. We've got quantitative tightening coming in. If we look at the United States Central Bank balance sheet, it's very, very important to chart Bitcoin with the USC BBS. And you can see we already have these blue lines on our chart. We are about right here. This is where we saw quantitative tightening end last time. Quantitative easing came in. Bitcoin did not do much with minor QE. Notice that. Bitcoin did not do a lot with miniature QE. It was when large-scale QE came in that Bitcoin started to perform very, very aggressively. In a small QE environment, Bitcoin actually continued trending downward. And that's something that we need to keep in mind, is that Bitcoin might not respond with extreme bullishness to moderate QE, like the $20 billion worth of QE that we've heard from the Fed in the beginning of next year. We really need to see a few more months of labor market data, a few more months of inflation data. We need to see whether or not the Fed is going to cut rates. We need to look at all of these different factors and variables to see whether or not Bitcoin is going to be able to go into just a blow off top, just massive run. Because, I mean, you've seen this cycle be very much stunted. I mean, Bitcoin probably would have rallied to $250,000 at least in an easing environment. If the Fed was easing at the rate that they were tightening, Bitcoin would be trading at probably $300,000 a coin right now. Which is why if we do start seeing rapid QE, if you see the stock market, just the floor fall out from under it next year because NVIDIA is holding the whole thing up. If they had missed earnings, Jensen Huang even came out and said, you know, if they had missed earnings, the entire market would have been in shambles. If you see some kind of AI bubble-driven stock crash next year, you will see the Fed turn on the printer because they are going to do everything they can to save the stock market. And at that point in time, you're most likely going to see huge amounts of QE, and then that's when you see alt season, because you never saw alt season this cycle. You never really saw it. You saw some coins go back to all-time high. You saw Solana went a little bit beyond all-time high, but adjusted for inflation, not really, not too much. You did not see the kind of just insane hype cycle that we saw in the last environment, and that's because, again, we've been going through QT for the last 2 years. The last time we saw QT was not a bull market for Bitcoin. It was a bear market for Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's been going up despite the quantitative tightening. The last bull market was driven by the quantitative tightening. We went up despite the quantitative tightening. So this is where you start getting into theories about the bear market being shorter if QT is coming to an end in about a week and a half, and QE is going to be starting next year. Right now, and this is really the overall picture, we don't have much data to go off of what's going to happen next year because there's so much variety. We don't have a lot of confirmation. We know that QT is ending. We know that quantitative easing is going to start to some degree, but at the moment, we are not seeing much of it. We have a lot of these different shifts in the winds coming up. We have the possibility that we just entered into a major bear market that could cause us to bottom as late as October of next year. Based on the timing. The timing in the bull market so far was very accurate. So maybe the bear market bottom will be very accurate too. We can't discount it until it's proven wrong. But right now, the appropriate response from a professional technical analyst and investor is to be one of opportunity rather than one of wild prediction. It is very easy to get carried away with saying, this is what the market's going to do, this is what it's not going to do. We're very bold when we see something coming. We told you we're going to 130 by October 15th. October 6th, we stopped at 126.2. We got within $4,000 of that prediction. We made that prediction when Bitcoin was at 110. We got pretty close. Could have gotten a little closer. There was a trend line that we missed. We got pretty close. Right after that, 3 days later, not 3 days later, 3 days after 1010, after the 1010 crash, we talked about how Bitcoin was going to go to 94, most likely. We were able to make a very concrete prediction on that because our models were intact. Right now, the issue is that we have the fundamentals and the technicals pulling us in two completely different directions. You have maybe a third to 40% of the market that believes in the 4-year halving cycle and so are selling right now. The exchanges, which is another probably 40% of the market, so you got like 80% of the market, are playing them by saying we're going to put bids down at 75 and let the market go into free fall so we can get cheap Bitcoin before it goes off to 300. And everybody, once again, as I've seen them do for years, thinks Bitcoin's dead, and it's not. No, Core V30 didn't crash Bitcoin. Is it a great update? No, I'm not a big fan of it. It's not the end of Bitcoin, though. Bitcoin has been through worse. It's been through the block size wars. It's been through all kinds of stuff before. It's just the war between Core and Knots is just it matters, but it's not the end of the world. What we see right now is that you have the fundamentals are saying in the next year you should see an extremely bullish Bitcoin and altcoin market because of the quantitative easing environment that's coming in. But that is complicated because we don't actually know how much easing the Fed is going to do. We also don't know what the market is going to do next year, the stock market is going to do next year, because right now the economy is kind of running on fumes, and we've already had a massive rally on United States S&P 500. NVIDIA was the only reason we didn't go into a big crash, and then the stock market did go into a big crash, right? And so with all of this in mind, there's just a lot of uncertainty. And so for us as analysts, sometimes we are able to lean in the direction of being predictors. Sometimes we need to lean into the direction of being opportunists. And right now, I think the most valuable piece of wisdom that I can give to you is that in this market as it stands, we need to be opportunistic. And so for me, the opportunity that I am looking at is I've been acquiring Bitcoin at 85 because I love these prices, man. If you go back up to all-time high from here, just back to all-time high, that's a 50% return. You buy now and you sell at all-time high, it's a 50% return. Great deal. Do you think Bitcoin's going back to all-time high? There's 50% return for you. Seriously. It's really simple. But I'm also building bid down at 76, right? If Bitcoin drops down to 76 and fills my bid order down there, back to all-time high is a 65% return. And so I have kind of shifted generally away from this is where I'm quite sure we're going of 94,000 to I'm being more opportunistic and just waiting. This is like a cycle that I found that we go through as technical analysts. We go through these cycles of we have extreme confidence that this is going to happen, then it happens, or maybe it doesn't. And then we go into this phase of like, okay, the thing we predicted was going to happen happened. And now we need to wait for the market to cough up enough information that we can really get a strong feel of where it's going next. And that's what we're doing right now. We're really in the data collection. We flipped bearish and said Bitcoin's in a bear market because it confirmed it took out every single bull market support structure that we have when it dropped below 94. There's nothing left to support Bitcoin below 94 saying it's in a bull market. It's completely it shattered it. So could Bitcoin be in a bull market? Yes, it absolutely could. I mean, Bitcoin could continue higher here. I would personally not like that, to be totally honest with you. I hope it doesn't. But theoretically, there is this trend line, and this is something I want to point out here that I've talked about before. There's this trend line right here, right there, right here. But again, you're kind of grasping at straws. It's not a very beautiful trend line, right? So, I mean, Bitcoin is technically speaking in that confirmed bear market. And so right now we want to be opportunistic about buying dips. We want to make sure that we are in a position to remain solvent longer than the market remains illogical. And that's really the key. So down here on the 5-minute chart, there is a possibility that Bitcoin is about to actually put in some kind of bottom. I have been saying, and I'm pretty confident in this, I have been saying that at some point soon, you're going to see some kind of reversal. Partially because Bitcoin needs to rally up to 100 to test the 50 weekly moving average, but also we might just back test up to 94. And so we did see Bitcoin set a very classical bottoming formation here. which looks like this. It's not exactly a 3.5A in our trading lingo, but this is pretty confidently a strong bounce, right? You rallied from 1 to 0, dropped back down to 0.618, bounce back up to 0. This theoretically would give a lot of confidence that 85,400 is going to break because of this bounce at 0.618, and then we had another bounce here at 0.382. So there's a relatively high probability of a break above 85 soon, but if we come up here, triple top, reject, and fall over, then at that point, you're probably going down towards our bid at 76,000. So, I mean, again, this is an illogical, irrational market that is not making a lot of sense. The market has been dumping and dumping and dumping and dumping and dumping. I'm not taking really too many futures trades right now, like perp trades right now, because, as I said, the market is acting extremely illogical. The RSI has just plummeted from 73 down to 22 in 45 days. The market needs a bottom somewhere, but it's very difficult to tell exactly where that bottom is going to be to go into a long that you're not going to get stopped out on. So you just need to keep these things in mind. That right now it's about being opportunistic. The name of the game right now is not necessarily going and doing a bunch of trades, although there is a really good, strong possibility that if you break 85, that this could be a long entry, right? But again, it is risky. But yeah, you can have a breakout above here, right? Pretty straightforward. Put an entry like right here. Put a stop loss in here. Hunt for a long. I'm not going to actually set this up. We can do all the analysis another time. But yeah, I mean, there's possibly a trade that looks something like that. But generally speaking, this market is made for buying. Spot, long term. That's what this market is made for. So at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. Now, one thing I will say is that if Bitcoin manages to close the weekly candle above 94, and this was just a teardrop event where Bitcoin dropped all the way down to 80 and we closed the weekly candle above 94, there is still hope that could be the end, that this is over and Bitcoin goes back into the bull market. That is possible, because if on the weekly chart you close the weekly candle and it's just this giant like T shape down here, and we close up here at 94, Bitcoin could feasibly recover because of all of the macroeconomic headwinds, right? The macroeconomic environment is looking fantastic for Bitcoin over the next year or two. So it really is, it's a waiting game. You know, the main thing that we're looking for right now are entries for spot holding. This is what I'm doing. I'm just looking for entries to buy and hold for the long term. Just going back to all-time high is a 50% return from where we are right now. We dropped 33%. You flip that, that's a 50% return, right? 50% return. If we go to where I think we're going in the next couple of years, which is over 200, that's 132% return. It's $100 into $232. That's $100,000 into $232,000. And so that is where we just really need to be very opportunistic, pay very close attention to what the market is doing, and then from there we will be able to, hopefully take advantage of these dips. What I'm looking forward to is I'm hoping that Bitcoin just continues to drop and drop and drop, and I know that a lot of you guys are going to get wrecked for that. That's why I'm trying to teach you how to not get wrecked for Bitcoin dropping. Like, don't get me wrong, paper losses in the hundreds of thousands, not bothered, because wealth is not built in the bull market. Wealth is built in the bear market. The people that have billions and billions and billions of dollars of real estate right now, if you look at any of them, the reason that they have all that real estate is because they bought it at 20 cents on the dollar in 2008. They got rich in 08. You went bankrupt in 08. They got rich in 08. So if you're in a position to stay solvent longer than the market stays irrational and buy the crap out of Bitcoin on the dip, that is where you are going to end up. That is where you're going to end up being able to be extremely successful. So I highly encourage you, not financial advice, etc. I'm not your financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I highly encourage you, and I'll tell you what I'm doing is I'm looking for entries down here, and I've been buying. I've been buying a bunch of Bitcoin. Love buying Bitcoin down here. Very exciting. All right, let's read a little bit of chat. Hey, real quick before we continue, I do want to give a big shout out to Stampseed. If you guys haven't already, make sure to sign up. Not sign up. I always say sign up. Make sure to purchase Stampseed products if you haven't already, because Stampseed products are going to help keep your Bitcoin safe in cold storage. Last thing you want to do is ride your Bitcoin all the way down in a bear market and then lose it in a house fire. The reason that you use Stampseed products is you're able to stamp your seed phrases into titanium that can withstand over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And that helps you because if your house burns down, you keep your Bitcoin. You may have lost your house, but you kept the more important thing, which is the Bitcoin. I mean, come on. Make sure to sign up. Again, make sure to purchase Stampseed products by going to stampseed.com/Jeb. I think is that link. Let me check. Yeah, I think the link for that is in the description box down below. Raymond Carr, 1834 in chat, said, Jeb, hello. Stop being so selfish. Not everyone can wait until 2040 to sell. It may be what you want, but other people are hurting. No, I realize that other people are hurting. I totally understand that. What you have to understand is that there are certain things that we do that help us succeed in the market. One of them is that we have to build a long-term time horizon. If you can't afford to wait until 2040, I understand that. I mean, not everybody listening to me is going to be alive in 2040. I get that. Like, I understand I have a blessing of being young. I'm only 25. That is one of the reasons why you should consider investing in assets that are proven, like Bitcoin, that have a large continual average growth rate. You might not be able to wait until 2040, but maybe you could wait until 2030. 5 years is a long time in Bitcoin. It's very rare that someone invests in Bitcoin and they're at a loss 5 years later. It's happened one time at the bottom of the last bear market, and we were only there for like a month. If you hold it for 5 years, you're almost certainly going to end up being very successful. So if you want to succeed with investment, part of the cost of entry is you have to be able to have a long-term time horizon. There's a reason that moths don't invest, man. They don't live that long. I'm just saying, like, if you want to succeed with investment, the longer you can give yourself, the better, which is why if you're young, you need to get started now. And also, again, Bitcoin has a higher continual average growth rate than just about any other asset in the game, which is why a lot of our audience actually skews towards the like 40 to 50-year-old, because people are like, crap, I didn't get my act together, and I'm not going to retire. I can't wait that long to retire with the stock market, so I got to do something else. And so they say, wait a minute, Bitcoin, I can do it with Bitcoin. That's why a lot of people that's why you have a lot of big money in Bitcoin. All right. What if you make a typo? Don't. But if you do, they're actually not that They're actually not that expensive. These. You'd have another. I guess you'd just have another stamp, right? So, yeah. But yeah. All right. Hey, bro, been with you a while. Thank you. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, by the way, when it comes to staying safe, one thing I want to really encourage you to do is make sure that you're protecting yourself online. Stampseed helps you protect your seed phrases, but NordVPN is going to help keep you safe while you're browsing online. You see, we're going into Black Friday. There's a massive deal coming up for Black Friday a week from today, actually, and it's starting now, which is that you can get access to NordVPN with 4 months extra by signing up with our link, going to nordvpn.com/Jeb. You probably heard of NordVPN. You probably know what they are. If you haven't already, then I highly encourage you to check them out. NordVPN is going to keep you safe while you browse online by keeping your internet traffic secure and private so that hackers and thieves cannot see what you're doing. If you are not protecting yourself with NordVPN, you are an open target, and it makes it a lot easier for hackers and thieves to hit you. So what you want to do is you want to come over here, and you're probably going to want to pick one of these plans, either basic or plus, and you're going to want to sign up and use our link. You're going to get 4 extra months free, and if you use the 2-year plan, you're going to save like 75% off. I highly recommend this plus plan because this is going to give you access to their password manager. I personally think the NordVPN password manager is fantastic. So if you haven't already, make sure to sign up for NordVPN, going to nordvpn.com/Jeb and enjoying that Black Friday sale. 150,000 by the end of 2025. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. Could. I mean, again, there's so many arguments that Bitcoin could go here, Bitcoin could go there. I'm not real interested in getting really attached to a certain prediction right now. We were very attached to the 94,000 prediction because I was extremely confident. I had a high level of confidence that was going to happen. I don't have a high level of confidence of what Bitcoin's going to do right now. And I try as I might, I cannot chalk that up to some kind of lack of, skill as an analyst. I'm not given a clear roadmap from the market. It was clear after 1010, Bitcoin was going to go through a major correction. Right now, it's very unclear whether Bitcoin's going to go down to a bear market low, which I would say is probably going to be above 50. I highly doubt Bitcoin will ever drop below $50,000 ever again, to give you guys some reassurance there. All of our liquidation prices are down like below 30. So like we are completely safe in those events. And if we got anywhere near those, I can drive them down basically to zero, overnight. So we have very much risked off in the last month. But I mean, you could drop down to 50 by October. It's a valid call. Or Bitcoin could bounce from here because of QT ending and the bullishness from Nvidia and rally. I'm leaning in the bearish direction, and below $94,000, I'm a bear. But at the end of the day, market is not really giving us a lot of very clear answers right now. So what we do in this environment is we realize this is what being an analyst is all about, is being prepared for both scenarios. People say, Jeb, you flip-flop. Jeb, you say if this and that, if this and that. Yeah, because people have been doing analysis on markets for 150 years and is considered best practice. Welcome to analysis. Welcome to risk management. Welcome to portfolio management. You prepare yourself for all outcomes where no matter what happens, you make money. Why do you think Wall Street has tens of trillions of dollars? Because it's the approach that works. You make sure that you make money no matter what we do. And so right now, what I'm leaning in the direction of is that Bitcoin drops down to 75, but I'm not real confident in that, to be honest with you. And if we do drop down to 76, I'll tell you, I wasn't real confident that this was going to happen, but it did. And I'm ready. I'm building a bid down there. I've been dumping cash into a buy order down at 76,000 for a couple of days now. You know, up until like yesterday, I've been just buying crap out of right here. I'm like, I'm going to build a bid down at 76. I'd love to get some entries down at 76,000. I would love that. So crystal ball is a little fuzzy right now, but what I can say is that Bitcoin is quite bearish. It's quite bearish at the moment. Quite bearish at the moment. Quite bearish at the moment. Max payment is 20K. We're not going to 20K. That ain't gonna happen. You would have the only way we're going to 20K is if Sailor, BlackRock, Fidelity, and Coinbase all blow up at the same time. Or if you see like Quantum somehow make some generational leap and crack Satoshi's wallet. Like, it's doomsday scenario that Bitcoin goes back down here. And people are saying 20, and the reason they're saying 20 is because the CME futures gap right there at 20,000. If that gets filled, I'm going to be real surprised if that gets filled. I highly, highly, highly doubt that's going to get filled. So yeah, I'm not really concerned about all that. 50,000, even if you look at the quantile model, it's coming up kind of like this. The bottom of the quantile model is right there at about 52,000. It looks a little something like this. And I, generally speaking, believe very heavily in Plan C's quantile model. So that's something you ought to check out, Plan C, over on Twitter. Quantile model bottom is right around 53 right now. Fast forward to next year, it's probably like 60. You might tag a little bit below that because obviously incoming data can adjust things. But generally speaking, I don't see Bitcoin going below 50. I really don't. You would have a lot of major players blow up at that point. You're watching like it'd be really bad. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the market makers and the manipulators behind the scenes are going to let that happen. I think they would. I think the industry would step in and bail out the market before that happened. So yeah, that's kind of my take on that. But hey guys, look, it's possible that we're going into a bear market next year. And so if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to check out iTrust Capital as well. The reason is because if we are in a bear market next year, you're going to get to double dip into really great deals when you're investing. If Bitcoin is in a bearish year, if we're down at $50, $60, $70, $80,000 and you buy Bitcoin with iTrust Capital, then what you're going to end up doing is you're going to not have to pay taxes and you're going to get a good entry. So what I encourage you to do is go to itrustcapital.com/go/crypto-jeb. The link is in the description box down below. And start investing in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies through a tax-advantaged retirement account, such as an IRA or a Roth IRA, a traditional or a Roth IRA, or even an SEP IRA. This is because this kind of investment is going to allow you to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in a tax-deferred way. You pay less money in taxes on Bitcoin, and you're able to buy Bitcoin spot. So if you want to save money in taxes, a great way to do it is by signing up for iTrust Capital with a link in the description box down below. They're one of the oldest, absolutely the most trusted companies in the entire cryptocurrency industry when it comes down to investment in the cryptocurrency space through retirement accounts. Love iTrust Capital. Very much looking forward to doing a lot with them. So make sure to check them out. Links in the description box down below. Let's read a little bit of chat and then I'm going to have to wrap it out so I can go shoot today's video. I want to make sure you guys get a video today also so I can kind of put all my thoughts together. But let's read chat. We'll go for a couple more minutes and then we'll wrap it out. Many are called, few are chosen, huh, bud? Not sure what you mean, but that is true. Jeb, the Satoshi multimillionaire. A lot of new laws coming in. Yep. A lot of stuff being built. It's really amazing. 50,000 may not be the bottom. The bubble is popping, baby. Yeah, but the thing is, the bubble's always... See, a lot of people anticipate that the bubble's going to pop down. That's not really how bubbles have popped in the history of fiat currencies. The bubbles pop up. The bubble pop... Let's be clear. When people think of the bubble popping, what they're going back to in their mind is they're going back to '08 and they're going back to the Great Depression. Those are the two areas that they're going back to. That did happen. In the Great Depression, you did not have the same fiat currency cartel operating in the same way that it did. The Fed existed, but it was not operating as egregiously as it is now with the way that they're managing the balance sheet and just liquidity injection with money that doesn't freaking exist. And in '08, it was a similar matter. It was nowhere near what it is today. In the history of fiat currencies, you look at Weimar Germany, you look at many African nations, you look at Native Americans, nations that, we came over and we flooded the market. You look at Southeast Asian nations, you look at there's so many different examples throughout history. Generally speaking, when the economy crashed, it didn't crash where everything went to zero. Everything went to infinity. It went to the other end of the extreme. And so that's what you're seeing happen right now with the S&P 500. People are like, oh, the bubble's going to pop, the bubble's going to pop, the bubble's going to pop. The bubble is popping. It's been popping since 2008. Look at this run. This is not normal. 68, all the way to 690. A 10x on the global stock market in 15 years. What? Did human productivity increase by 10x in the last 15 years? No. It grew by a lot, probably 4 or 5x. But at least half of this growth is dilution. The bubble is popping. The bubble has been popping, and the bubble will continue popping. It's not something that's going to happen in a day. Bitcoin's a hard asset, so it's bubble popping. Is it falling over? Everything else is bubble popping. Is it exploding to new all-time highs? All right. Let's read a little bit more chat, and then we're going to have to wrap it out. I really appreciate all of you guys. Let's go ahead and read a little bit more chat. Is that a 10K minimum? Yeah, no, I don't think we're on a 10K. I highly doubt that. That'd be really, really weird. You'd have to see a lot of things go wrong for that to happen. Came to get reassurance, Jebby. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's just a bear market. A lot of people are thinking, oh my gosh, this is the end of Bitcoin. I can't tell you how many times in 8 years of doing this, I've heard people say, this is the end of Bitcoin. Everything's going to die, man. Sell all your junk and get out of here. And it's just like, guys, our current level, we are crashing to all-time highs from a year ago. Like, you realize that what the headline ought to read is, attention, Bitcoin crashes to last year's all-time high. Literally exactly a year ago, where we are right now, was all-time high. Come on. It's not that scary. And it also makes a lot of sense. You've got the visible range volume profile. There's nothing down here. There's this giant gap right here between 75 and 85. It makes sense. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. You see? Nothing there. The market literally operates like this. We haven't traded there before. And then we trade there. So, I mean, somewhere in here, this is where I can start actually building a bit of an argument for what I think is going to happen. Somewhere in here, Bitcoin's going to get a bounce. It's going to come back up and test. And you know what? This is nice. We're coming into the end of the stream. You're actually getting something concrete because I've been wanting to give you something concrete. Sometime, you're going to see Bitcoin come into this zone in the visible range volume profile. You're probably going to see it bounce off of there and come up and tag the 50. And then if it rejects, yes, you're probably going to go back down towards 50. That's the likely outcome. That's what's probably going to happen from here. Is some kind of V bottom. Plan C has been talking about this a lot. Some kind of V bottom where you bounce up and hit the 50. If you reject off of it, bear market probably continues. But if you just decide you hate Bitcoin and you want to reject here at 100, then there you go. There's your exit. There's your exit. Well, there's your exit. I would love to buy your Bitcoin. I would love to buy your Bitcoin. Whoever's been selling me all of their Bitcoin over on all the different exchanges that I have cash on, thank you. Thank you so much. I just really appreciate the discount. Black Friday came early. 33% off on the best investment vehicle in the history of mankind. Thanks. Anyway, that's my take on the market. I'm really not scared. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I will tell you, like, I do my best to tell you guys when we're right and when we're wrong. I bought too much up here. I got excited about, oh my gosh, we're going to have the 4-year halving cycle blow off top. Got too excited, bought too much. So my cost basis over the last year is a little bit higher than it should. But that's why I like this dip, because I get to buy more down here. That's what I want. Bought a buttload of Bitcoin right here. I'm going to buy a ton of Bitcoin right here as well. It's going to be great. Very excited. So anyway, really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for more content. Check out iTrust Capital, Stampseed, and NordVPN with the links in the description box down below. Thank you to them for helping to sponsor this piece of content for you guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to also follow us at CryptoJeb over on X. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.